Yeah. Austin, how do you approach the final two races of the regular season, knowing that you have a win, you don't have to race to fight for a playoff spot? Do you focus more on like tuning up for the playoffs, or is it just kind of like business as usual until you get to the playoffs?
I think it's a combination of being an opportunist when there's opportunities to get playoff points, because that's what's going to help you out. I mean, if I'm able to win tomorrow night, I mean that's 5 playoff points. That gives us 12. That's a pretty strong number of playoff points. But otherwise, I think it's getting in solid reps that we can go into races and feel confident we can put races together. And I feel like that's something we've kind of been always one step off the last handful of weeks, at least in the last month as we come back from the break. So looking for the next 2 weeks to kind of just be good ones for us to get reps on. But I really feel like, especially tomorrow night, it's a great opportunity for us to win.
And then final question, unrelated. Obviously, the big news from I guess last week at this point was the announcement that Bowman Gray is coming to host the Clash. What are your thoughts on that? Did you enjoy LA more, or will it be nice to have basically a driving distance to the track and have more team members be able to come out and support you? Do you support being in Bowman Gray, or did you like LA more?
Well, not that there isn't like a short track racing scene in California. Maybe it's not in Los Angeles, but I feel like there's probably much more of a following in the Southeast that's going to really appreciate, I guess NASCAR honoring the heritage of that racetrack. I don't really come from much of a short track racing background. I've never raced at Bowman Gray, but whether if it's foreigners or people I've known racing that are in town, and I always tell them to go to Bowman Gray on Saturday night if they want to see what real short track racing is all about. So from the racing itself and the show, and obviously the fans, I feel like it's always a really, really good jump in the deep end for anyone who hasn't really experienced proper short track racing.
Thanks, Austin.
Well, it certainly provides us options.
It's hard to say. I think you'll probably be a little bit more aggressive, and you'll have some guys racing for points, but still, the least amount of fuel you use in the first stage, still shortens your pit stop at the end of that. So it'll probably look pretty similar to what we had before.
In this configuration, these packages
How about the change to the car, so that it doesn't flip on the racetrack? Will you feel any of that? Or are you going to have to look at the data and your team look at it, or is it possible it would throw anybody for a little bit of a loop?
I think if anything, it would just make the car handle better, I would assume, just because it should give it some more side force. I would think that would be the idea, but obviously without seeing it in the wind tunnel and knowing all the details, that's what I would assume. So it probably won't. It'll probably be a small change, if at all.
You don't have a ton of super speedway racing really in general throughout your career. Like, do you feel confident, comfortable? Where are you at as a super speedway guy?
I'm definitely feeling more and more comfortable. Definitely when I started in the Xfinity Series, this was by far the most uncomfortable type of racing I feel like to adapt to, right? Because it's just so different, and it's so easy to, when you come from racing late models, like with long races, be there at the end, it's so hard to balance risk versus reward, and when to stay up front, when to be patient, and to stay out of an accident. So it's definitely something that I've been just working hard to try to get better. I definitely feel more comfortable now after getting some races under my belt, but it's a lot different than what I've done growing up.
Do you feel like you can make it happen on Saturday, or is it just so random, it's just luck? Or how do you view what you need to do, what you could do?
I definitely don't think it's luck. I mean, there is a little bit of that, I guess, involved, but more than any, you see a lot of times we always talk about, the same guys end up front. I mean, really, to me, what it boils down to is having a fast car. I mean, obviously qualifying up front, that gives us a lot more confidence. Having track position. I think back to kind of Talladega, we didn't qualify well there, but we executed a good race on pit road. Ended up getting some track position at the end, and with a couple of laps to go, me and Noah were side by side, I think, third and fourth, and I didn't make it and he did. So I think back to that race, you just got to put yourself in position there at the end, and hopefully you make the right decisions, and you don't get collected in a wreck, and but we definitely have as good opportunity as anybody.
The option tire deal that we did at Richmond, do you have a feel for that, whether it's we should do the softer tire, we should keep having multiple tire compounds? Do you have a way that you feel one way or the other?
I would feel completely confident the option tire being the tire for short tracks, and I'm sure that's what they're looking at doing. If they wanted to create multiple compounds, I think you could go softer yet. I mean, they still really, I don't think that we wore the tires at Richmond, but not to the cords or anything like we had at Bristol. So there's probably more area to go there. It was definitely a step in the right direction. I thought that. I thought that just, we stayed around 10th probably, but when we had those softer tires on, like, you just didn't feel the aero effects of the car as much, I thought. Like, so that's just the car making mechanical grip through the tires versus aerodynamic, aero grip. So I think it was a huge step forward, and I think they can keep pushing that, I'm sure.
So when you look at the way that races like Nashville, Richmond kind of ended with overtimes, multiple overtimes, do you have a preference as far as ending under caution, giving fans a green and white checkered?
I mean, I think you gotta, I don't know. I mean, that's a hard question to answer, but I think you have to use the overtime. I don't think you can go backwards in time and kind of go back to the old way of doing things. But I don't know. That's a tough situation to be in. If you just look at just like the caution last week. I don't know if that could have been. You just don't want to get in the part where they're just so quick to throw the caution right at the end. I think, if it's natural, it happens. It happens.
Okay. Clash moving locations, is that something you're excited about?
Yeah, it's a hell of a lot closer to home. I'll be able to drive there. I mean, no, but I've never raced at Bowman Gray. I've been there once to watch a modified race. It was entertaining. I remember that show on Discovery Channel from years ago. That was pretty cool too. So it'll be fun. Like I said, I think there's a lot of great race fans in that area. They pack that place during the summer, and even when I late.
So I think it's a little bit harder for them. As a driver, you just do as much studying as you can. Sim time if you need to use the simulator, and track experience. That's what it's all about.
That is something that has changed radically. I mean, you don't get a lot of track time now. So
Yeah,
you're in the sim a lot, right?
That's the hardest part of our sport. You don't really get an opportunity to work on your craft. So you got to make the most of the races, and you got to be really good at learning on the fly. That's for sure.
So when did you learn the penalty that the penalty was coming?
I learned about an hour after it was posted. I got home. I forgot what I was doing, but I got home and my wife said, "Did you see the Denny penalty?" And I said, "No." And I immediately called Adam and asked what it was about. But holy smokes, that's a big one.
What's that do for the organization? I mean, we obviously know the ties you have with Toyota and what they mean to you guys.
Yeah, I mean, it's just. I don't know. It hits hard because it very easily could have been me, right? That penalty could have been on any of our cars. So, that's I don't know. Other than it's out of my hands, and largely out of the crew chief's hands, I think. So, everyone's just got to have faith in each other that they're going to do the right things.
There may not be an answer to this question, but as you said, it's out of your hands. It's out of Adam's hands. It's kind of almost happenstance. Is it fair to put this penalty on the 11 team in that instance then, when this is a manufacturer thing, and now Denny's championship hopes are they took a shot?
Yeah. Honestly, I don't know. I don't feel like I have the right to speak on that because it's way up above me. It's at the the NASCAR level, the manufacturing level. So I don't really know how to answer that.
Sure. So this is going to be a terrible way to phrase this, and I apologize, but is it more, I guess, beneficial that Adam's doing his recovery now, where you guys have the technology to make it easier to communicate the war room and kind of keep him in your ear during the race?
Than like years past?
Exactly.
Oh, 100%. Yes, absolutely. And I don't know when the war room started coming around and the amount of technology that they have in there and the data that they have in there, but certainly I believe it being 2024 and not whatever 2005. Mm-hmm. I don't know when the war rooms came around, but certainly it would have been a lot different back in the day.
Okay. Does it matter to you at all that the Clash is moving from California to North Carolina? Do you care?
I mean, I'm excited about it. I think that the fan base is going to be a different crowd whenever we get to not North Wilkesboro, but Bowman Gray. Yeah. So I'm excited about it. I think going to new venues is really, really good. Getting Bowman Gray on the schedule, I think, is a huge positive. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good change.
Did you enjoy the Coliseum event, the race itself?
I did, but it didn't really go good for me. Last year or this year, I didn't even make the race, so that was a bummer.
But the atmosphere and all was pretty good for a while.
I mean, it was. This year obviously sucked with the rain delay or the getting moved up to Saturday night or whatever. But I think that Bowman Gray is going to be a huge addition to the schedule, and I'm certainly delighted about it. And I want them to continue to diversify the schedule, go to new venues all the time, and get to where we have one race at one track throughout the entire year.
This is Custom Patch Hats. But what makes us custom? Well, that actually begins with bringing your unique vision to life. No knockoffs, no lookalikes. Your design is one of a kind. We know hats, we know design, and we know quality. The proof? It's in our production. Hand-stitched with precision and care, with brands you know and trust. A one-of-a-kind patch deserves a one-of-a-kind treatment, all the way to your doorstep. It's how we keep it custom.
Jared Haas with Frontstretch.com. Come back soon for more great racing videos. And if you like us, make sure to hit that subscribe button.